Today we will see a little bit about application framework, how it was, and some of the things that we wanted to continue from our previous sessions. We will carry forward there. So let's begin. So one of the core aspects of HarmonyOS is ability framework. So you will be reading in the website and many of our content about ability. So in an abstraction, the meaning of simple definition of ability is to have a certain capability. For example, in an application, a capability can be showing you a splash screen or an introductory screen. Ability can be a music player. Ability can be a settings page. So a single application can have multiple abilities. So it is not just the UI part of it, it is basically the functionality of it. Together, 2 or 3 UI screens can together make a functionality or a capability that it exposes. We call it as an ability. So another simple thing for which we would have used multiple times is a login ability. So many of our applications already provide a login solution where you will see there is a UI where it will require you to enter username, password, or allow you to do social logins. And finally, it allows you to use the capabilities of that application. So login by itself is one of the capability or an ability. So in ability, it is majorly divided into 2 parts. It is a feature ability and a particle ability. So each of these comes with multiple templates, which we will see in the coming slides. On the top level, feature ability is always a UI based ability through which user can interact to the application or a capability. Whereas the particle ability is something that is in background. It provides a service or a storage capability which doesn't have any UI. So let's see a little bit deep on this feature ability. So the feature ability supports page ability. So in specific, page is a meaning of having a template or a UI template where it can show some layouts, animations, buttons, text editors, anything that user interacts, all comes under page ability. So from now onwards, we simply tell this as a page. So what is about service ability? It provides a service that runs in background tasks. Some of the things that you would have commonly used and observed already in your phones. When a music player is there, first you will have a UI where you will select your playlist or you will select a song and starts playing. And even after you don't have a UI, you use some other application, the music still plays on. That is because there is a service that is running this music in background without showing to the user what is happening. You can still go to your notification and launch the UI part, but majority of the task is done in background service. At the same time, there is another template or ability called as data ability, used to provide unified data abstraction to all the other applications. We will see on this here. So when we call about a page ability, you can see here there is a small screen that is displayed here where it has a page and ability slices. When I call it as a slice, it is basically a simple UI. What in the context of login, when we talk, now we can relate to this. When you are having a simple login page, it has a UI where there is a username, password, and a button. There you, 2 buttons basically, where it will give an option of sign in or sign up. So each will again take to different things where if you try to do sign in, it will expect a username, password to be given, and you can go on doing the sign in process. When you are doing a sign up, it will open a list of forms where you will enter your physical information about yourself, some identities that it needs, and some unique questions that it might ask based on the requirement of the application. So you will sign up to the application again. So together, entire thing, it is still an application, but a page that is a login page can contain two types of abilities, like one for sign up, one for sign in. Both are part of the single ability page. So that is the advantage of having a grouping based on ability, where you can have multiple UI, but all as per functionality are under a single page ability. Next, we come to data ability. Further, we can recognize it as data alone. So the data ability, the main advantage of data ability is to store the information and to expose to the external world as a single unit. So the layer, it can be, you can store the data in your database, your file system, and any of the things, but while accessing, the APIs that you use will be all similar. So you will not know whether the data was stored in a file system or in a DB. So coming back to another important aspect, so that was about the data ability framework. So here we will discuss more about how the application is packed and how we can have multiple apps. As I said, each application can have multiple abilities, and each of the apps or features can be combined to make a bigger application. Right now we talked about login, right? So let us consider that as a app. Here you can consider that it says Harmony application packaging. So a simple entry function where it has some abilities. It depends on few libraries, resources, and configuration of JSON, which you would have seen in the previous session how it is formed. We will see a demo today also about that. So that can entry.app is mandatory for all the UI based features. A feature 1, feature B, or a feature C, it's based on the features that it exposes. Let us think feature A to be linked to a login ability, where it provides a sign in sign up option, where here the libraries are, you would have seen an operation that we usually do, login via Facebook or login via Google SDK or iOS in a similar way, or LinkedIn or GitHub things. So in all those things, the application that is supporting those features will depend on a library on which will actually do the job. So libraries are those components that provides unique features where the application depends on these features. So corresponding resources also can be there, and there might be features which only supports the libraries, and there can be features which only supports resources. These can be independently accessed by multiple applications. But when an application is packed, it uses all these different apps and together makes an application, right? So this is one important information. While you're developing an application, currently you might be seeing only a app. When in future, you will combine 2 or 3 features and make a single app. So that is the reason I have exposed this information, internal information, where you can understand how an entry, app, or multiple components can together become a single application. All right. So with this, we will only cover the information or introduction of Ability application framework. Now we will directly pitch into a live code session. The reason why I asked for you guys to understand or have you guys set up the Deveco is so that you could have directly coded along with me and see what are the issues you get and solve together all these things. So whoever has set up, you can start doing it. So others who have not done, I will explain you guys, you understand, and once you set up, you can do the same. Okay, so here is one sample example. Today I would like to share and some of the editor features which might have been already shared in the previous session. I'll repeat those and we will do one sample application right now. So this is a sample application with the simple steps of empty ability I have started, and once it loads, this is a page that it shows, right? So we will understand a little bit of this now, this application, and then we will start our application development. So when you see, always there is one Java component attached to our entry module where you have a main ability and a main application. The application is the one where the main component instance is getting initialized, and it is extended by the packaging component through which our entire application is binded with. So before going, always refer to config.json, which will give the information of the complete application. So here we know what kind of device types this application will support. Here we know it supports phone, tablet, TV, and a wearable. And apart from this, you can see the abilities that we are supporting. There is only one ability, that is a main ability here. And wherever JS comes, if this tag is observed, so this application is supporting JS-based development or JS-based application. That's the meaning of all this simple information. And it provides the versioning, all this information, right? So next, the important thing all of us should know is a build.gradle. Gradle is our built-in system where using Gradle we'll be compiling and preparing the task for compilation, execution, type of builds, everything we define using the rules and tasks of Gradle. Here we mention what kind of compile SDK we want, with what kind of compatible SDK you want to use. So these things we will check here. Then we will move on to the component level Gradle files. So this was component level Gradle file. This is the overall application level Gradle file, where you will know with what version of SDK API we are referring to. What is our app path where a dependent classes are used to compile. So let us see, fire up our device. So the current API version of my media pad, I am currently launching a tablet. It is supporting a version of API 5. So I might have to change my build.gradle here compatible to 5, because that is the emulator currently I have. So I'll try to run this. Prince, I'll come back and explain about this. Let me just show whether the application is running or not. Okay, so empty application currently is running, where it only displays hello world. Now let us dissect a little bit on Java. So when you see, there is a we saw last time just some time back that my application is extending the ability package, which is the key entry for the process initialization or application initialization. The ability is the one where you saw in config.json, which is having a instance of the capability, right? So when the ability is extending A's ability, it is actually trying to tell it is extending the JS framework. So correspondingly, we have app.js here. You can see here app.js, which also gets on create and on destroy events whenever you have the initialization here. So this is how these two are connected, and the pages are connected through main ability. Whenever you have a main ability on start, the first indexed JS file will HTML file will be triggered, and then you will have a on init from the JS layer. This is how these are linked. Once you get used to it, we will go in deep and understand how it initializes and how you can see how these are linked. For the time being, you understand my application is linked to app.js, which has its on create and on destroy. And the main ability, once it instantiates, the first page that is linked using the config.json or the index.html and JS will get instantiated. So I hope I answered that. Further to this, let us understand now how the structure is there. I think this I will go faster because I think we had an extensive session last time as well. So here we have index.html where it is referencing to a string.hello, which is coming from here. So here we have string in a JSON file where it is string.hello is referring to this variable, which will be further replaced here, right? So and the other one is linked to title. Here it is reference to title, which is coming from string.word, which is coming directly from. So this is how we are referencing, and we would have discussed about this. Today we will learn about a little bit next level, where we will try to add an image and a button, and then we will try to animate that entire image in a simple application. So first and foremost, for any application, the first thing is you have to create a skeleton of that application. Then you need to give some resources, body to that application, and finally life using the JS or the logical part of JS, right? So let us start building without further wasting the time. So I am deleting the old one. So for anything, for the quick reference, you can always go to previewer and see what happens here. So right now, previewer also gets compiled. It provides a logic. Now, if you see here, it is not giving anything, right? So let us take our media part itself so that we are aligned with what we are doing. Okay, so let's begin our thing. So whenever we talk about input, that is kind of a button that we talk, it comes under input class. So we can directly use input. What is the type of inputs that we can have? There are multiple types. You can see here, you have a checkbox, radio button, many things. So right now I'm more interested in button. So I'll click button. So to reference this exact button, I will give a simple name as button. So next, what does a button do? So we click the button always, right? So we will have an on click attached to this. So then you need to give a name to that button, right? So here I'm trying to do an animation for rotation. So I will just do on rotate. Then it needs to display something, right? So we will give the value, that is. So we can also do a little bit internationalization where this image also can, this value also can come from the JSON, where based on the language we can do. That we will take up a little later. Then soon after I type, you can see what is happening. You guys can see this. A rotate image came off from the preview the moment I typed this. This is similar to how we develop applications in web. So next comes, we will add an image. So to handle image in a better way, I'll add it in a div. So we'll give a name to that. And we also want to have a rotate option for next inside. Since we wanted image, so we will create an image class itself. So we will give a name for referencing. So since it is rotate, we will call it as image rotate. When we talk about image, what is the immediate things that comes into picture? You need to rotate. You need a source for that, right? So I am referring this from JS, which we will define. Right now it won't work because there is nothing defined. So after the image is loaded, you need to know what happens. So I will create a on complete and define it in a. This much is clear to everyone. This is a very simple thing what we added. So observe what happened exactly on this once the immediate I do, it went and captured because it is the image is occupying the complete space. So it pushed the entire container up. So we had to work on a little bit of CSS now. So let us see. So by default, you see this is what it will be generated, where it is justifying how our flex container is getting used. So I don't need so much of stuff here. I don't want it to do it in this way. I'll make it very simple. Let the flex direction be column. I will remove all those things and give the weightage for everything as well. So you see, just increase the size. How with that simple change? Then we will try to change a little bit. Oh, we didn't add any title. Let us add a title for this as well. Yes. Before going to this, we will create another div. So the class name is this. This is all for our beautification. I'm using a text class here. With this, we are also learning a little bit of our basic components, which is part of our next one, but we will be including this together today. Again, I'm referencing from JS. Let's go and do a little bit of CSS. This is title. Title is a generic one, so we will change it. Focus on page title. So we'll increase the size. It's 100 pixel. Just to play the content. So right now you won't see anything because there is no content, but you're seeing the layout getting changed. So where I'm adding pad and how it changes. Then what do we have? We have a button. So button is something I would like you guys to explore a little bit using IDE. So when you see a button, you can always say, this is my size of the button, right? So let's see in another way what I can do. So here, if you see, so in a div, when I click you understood what I just now did? I went and I'm trying to use, this is a previewer and this is an inspector. So on click of an inspector, I get a lot of options here of the attributes. So if you see this, the input, that is your button, right? So if the class name, you can see the height just now I defined, so that's why it came here. Apart from this, there are so many other things that you can also add here. For example, if you see here, how you want to align the text inside the button. But so if you see here, it is showing whether the border padding, nothing has been defined. So let us give a simple few things that we can play around here. So you can see the border width has been given. Padding is there where we can give the padding. So what happens when padding is given? Anyone? I think already you guys are aware of all these things, right? So if you see here, of each component, it provides you a comprehensive information how the component is available. One second. So if you see here, this is how each of a box attribute is defined, where you can see the button is of size here, where I've given padding to top and bottom. After that, we have a border where it will show the border attributes, and then it is a margin, which will also try to avoid the changes that to the along with this component. If you have multiple components, how to avoid the margins are usually to add additional layer of difference between each component. Padding is more for the visibility and UI clarity. Borders are to define the position of a component. So we will see this based on the CSS changes we will do for. You can directly do the changes here. Once you do the change here, usually what will happen is, if you see here, the button getting changed, the style gets added directly over here. You can play around here, understand what are the things you need, but finally we can translate for the better coding to the CSS file where we are defined the button here. To make it much more optimized, we can create one common CSS where the entire buttons are accessed from. For all the pages, we can define it in a simple way. That also we will see. But right now, let us try to focus on this now. We will try to do it fast now. I want to align my text to the center. The border radius, whatever we have now, I would like to change so that radius, I'm only giving 5 pixels. You can see what happened now. From a capsule based system, suddenly it became a rectangular, right? So right now it still has some work. Let me do that one to give a better picture. So I will bring in margin height now. Then what I can add a little bit of margin on top. And bottom. See what happened? It was all stretched out. Now I made it. Now one thing is a problem for us. Maybe we'll add some color to it. Easiest one, that is white, which is already there. So even when you change any other colors, this will be fixed. The size is not okay. The visibility is having a problem. So we will make it 30 pixel. And let us retain the color default. See, the entire image change. So now we have what we can do is we will try to implement the JS, right? So in the JS right now, nothing is available, but we need to provide few data elements, right? One thing that we need to give immediately is, let us see. I think the first one first is a component name I need to give. Then I will ask what is the name of that. See, you could see that thing changes immediately. So it's image. Let me copy an image. I will just paste it over here. So images are basically present in common images. These are big images. Let us see if I can use this. I think the resolution is mainly for a TV. I might not be able to use it. Let me copy from my local. It can be anything as small as 250 by 250 or any rectangular image. Let me see. Small image. So this is the image I have just pulled it. So now I will give the path for it. So as you would have seen, I'm giving one absolute path now. That is, it is present in common images. Apple is here. That is here immediately. Next, what is not okay in this? Okay, so this is what I have currently. So next, we need to add few functionalities, and the way sample application is looking also is not so great. So let me go back to my CSS. There I have change it, or rather, that I can add some padding. Image takes a little bit of time to load, so that's purpose. Now I think once we are done with this, I think we can directly jump into functionality. In the functionality aspect, I think on in it, there is nothing to be done now. We have one more small thing that we introduced. Before that, let us implement few more things where we in our HML, we clearly said one important thing, right? Whenever click is given, on rotate needs to be called. So we will implement that now. So it is on. Okay. I need to declare it as a function. So we will add some laws to this. Okay. Then we will introduce few more variable called rotate. We will see this how it works. Whenever on rotate is called, we will just refresh. Rotate is basically we will do the operation in CSS. That's why I took up this example, which will be very easy, and we will be doing it only through CSS. We need to pass the method that we will be calling, that is rotate. So we will just give the value as rotate. We are resetting the information and then we are calling, so multiple rotations can happen. So that's it from the basic functionality point of view. To make sure, right now image loaded, that is good, but if at all image doesn't load, what should I do? How do I work on that? So there is a very simple way of doing it. Initialize the image, use the object. So what did I do? I'm just referencing that with this. So what I can do, image dot, now I can link with on load. So it's easier. It's the same thing what it was shown. So for me, this part, understanding these are more important than the UI or functionality, where any issue you comes, how do you handle it? And how do we resolve it? So this is a positive case. So at the same time, I can also do image dot on error. So again, we will do the same. So once we know why it is failed, it will also give you the message so that you can print. Okay, so this is a simplest thing that we could do, and everything is loaded. Now let us just go back to CSS and complete the animation part. So in the animation, one of the key things that we were seeing right now was a rotate was getting called. That is the functionality that we will be defining now. Inside rotate, so once we assign rotate information string here, what will happen? So we can make it as in a two-way. We can also define only as animation. For clarity wise, we will always give a name. So we know what we are doing here. So we will define an animation rule set by with the name of rotate. So we will also give some duration, how animation should be there. So we will define animation duration. Let's give some 4000 milliseconds because the input is taken in milliseconds. And we also have to give what kind of transformation you want to do. From what pixel to pixel you will do, or from which percentage you will do. So you can give as 300 pixel to 300 pixel. So along with rotate, one of the key thing for rotate to work is giving a rule set, that is using keyframes. So here you will tell to the animation from what you will do and to what you will do. So now I want to transform into a rotation. Now I need to give input around 20 degree. Let me start rotating from 20 degree till what? So at the same time, whenever you are seeing here, you can see what all you can do with this transformation. You can also do rotate X, rotate Y, rotate Z. That might not be so visible here. At the same time, you can also do scale X and scale Y. So after this, you can play around with this. Maybe let it rotate complete 360 degree. So I think that's it. So what did we do in today's thing? We just created a HTML page where we have defined a simple title. We have created a button and we have loaded an image. We have given it as a class and we have given information as rotate. That is a variable or a data that is available in our JS. And the source image also we are loading from JS. And on complete we are giving here. This is the value of the button is rotate image. So till now we have not run apart from our first run. So let's run and see if we have any issues and what we can do about it. So let us see how remote. Oh, so this is one simple example where you can consider this entire page is a single page. All right. So if you guys have any doubts in this, let us see. Or else I would like to give one simple exercise to all of you guys where using the same code you will enhance it. On the right hand side, you can see here, right? There is something called as previewer. So you just click on it. It will load. So I don't, by default, tablet will be in this mode. You can either use a phone to see how it works. You see here, this is a very good example to understand why when we writing some, since I gave pixel, so this is how it has come. So if you see, it is a little bit awkward in phone and it is good in a media pack. So we will learn about how we will solve this in the coming sessions. You see the same thing in a tablet, it looks perfectly fine. The previewer is the one, is a very powerful tool uh, which you guys can use uh, to runtime check all the validations of your code, UI code, and make sure everything works before even firing the emulator. So it also does the same thing. You see, everything is actually done in the previewer itself. So majority of the UI component operations can be verified using uh, our previewer itself. So you don't have to think whether certain things will work or not. Now, from the user perspective, what will not work? If you are depending on an external component, if you are depending on components which is not by default available by Harmony SDK, those things previewer might not be able to show it clearly. But the base components and simple JS operations can always be shown here. Some of the dynamic components might have few issues. The advantage of previewer, right now you can see this previewer again. So just see this. If I select any of the attribute, it will show me how the attribute is available here. You see here? Here the attribute is this. So we can understand how it is occupying, how much space it is giving. So if you see, the actual image is this much only, but why it is taking so much? Because I have given a padding of 100. So let us see if I remove padding, what will happen. So I gave a padding of 100 here. If I remove this, see what happens. It just we have reduced the space over here, right? But still we have other things that are still occupying. That is the padding on the top that is available that I can directly see over here. Then we have customized this entire behavior or beautified this component based on this, the page title where the font size is here, and we are only justifying the content here. So the flex is 1, so it automatically makes sure it occupies only the component beautified space. So this is a very CSS simple trick that is available even in regular CSS, and this is supported in Harmony. I just wanted you guys to get used to it. It's around 5 to 10 lines of code that we need to know what needs to be done, and we know what to do. So what you guys can do as a for example, set it up ID. I see many people have not done. Try out this sample which I have shared, and you can also try not only rotate. There is scale. There is scale XY. You can try. You can also try rotate XY and understand what is rotate does. All right. So I will not show. It's very straightforward. I want you guys to try it out and see how it works. So the reference here at the runtime, we are actually using Java as a reference. And once it comes to JS part, it is purely vector web operation. So you will not do a single line of code in these two. Java. It is by default generated by the IDE, and you can actually ignore. For understanding purpose, how exactly it works, I wanted you guys to know this. But this is a main place where you will develop. This is our JS part. When it comes to TS, I think Archana would have explained that we will do it in the coming sessions. Because there is emulator is not available right now for the version of API that we will be working with. So we just didn't wanted to show something which you cannot use immediately. So that's why I'm not showing you in ETS. Later on, we will also work on ETS with similar samples and see how we will use ETS there, like extended TypeScript. I think if you see the introductory sessions, what we said here, this kind of coding is similar to web development. So people who are aware of JS and are experts in web development will have an ease in developing Harmony applications. Everything that is supporting in web will not be supported here. That's why we should refer the API guideline, how much is supported, and then we will be developing it. We cannot directly see if you see a piece of code that is syntactically working in a web might not work here based on the syntax that you are using and also the components that you are referring to. Internally, it has another layer where it has a web runtime. So it will be running on the web runtime, but it is not like a web view or any other component that we will see. So finally, it might be, this is the only thing that is based on Java. Rest everything you can see here, how we will be manifesting the base information into other parts. See, this is how your packaging has been done. So when JS runs, this is the actual thing that will be available.
Okay.
So all these things is converted and it will be running in a runtime. That is our Webpack runtime will be there. So it is a customized runtime for Harmony. Similar to our regular web runtime, but it because of the mobile and the requirement and the range of devices it works, it has been customized for Huawei needs and the Harmony needs. Now IoT devices doesn't have capability like how we will run it on a browser, right? So we will have a very minimalistic runtime on this. These components are used and it will run, which is not the same in React or in terms of any other web components. I think we will have more elaborative component discussion. So this was just an introduction to make sure we get used to Deveco. Every time when we start a new component discussion or anything, we will use Deveco and start developing the code in this fashion. The next time I'll be a little bit more fast to complete the number of things. Wherever key information is provided, needed, I will be stressing it more and pausing it at that time. But once you guys get used to it, we can do this coding parallel. Is this okay with everyone? So the next session, you guys should work out. I will share this code. You have to see the scale factors of animation, play around with the button and the text. Use all the options that are there in the preview and see what happens to it. Take a text. Take text, for example. See what all attributes are there. Where there is background, there is display, there is flex that is added. The font family can be changed. We can play around with that. And you can see the letter spacing, how it is there. This is standard letter spacing. Then you also can see overflow, visibility, when what should be used. So you can play around with all these things. Here, the color is black. You can even select anything, right? So immediately it changes. We are changing the border. See, immediately it changes. So I want you guys to play around, understand and get used to IDE and others so that next time when we discuss, you will ask more doubts and come up with more better applications. Okay. With that, we will end the session today.